Hi there and welcome back to my channel. This is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video we're discussing R is for Ricochet, written by Sue Grafton. It's book 18 in the Kinsey Millhone series, or the Alphabet Murder series, however you want to think about it. This book feels a little bit different to other books in the series. There is a mystery, but it feels like it's a mystery where we already know who's guilty. So we just have to follow Kinsey reach to that conclusion. We have to follow them, just reach to the end of the story. So it feels different for that. Also, it starts out as not a mystery at all. It starts out as Kinsey being hired to look after somebody, to pick somebody up from prison and look after her for a couple of days, basically. So it's a different story altogether. I did still enjoy it. It's not my favourite in the series. It's still a good book because of the characters mainly, not so much the mystery itself in this book I found. Anyway, let's talk more about the book now. Before we get to Kinsey's plot, let's talk about our other regulars, Henry, Rosie and William. So in this book, we have a continuation of the Henry saga, or the Love Boat saga as I like to call it, where we have Henry still flirting with people, or flirting with romance, from a woman he met at the cruise, on the cruise he was on. And we first learned about that cruise in the previous book in the series. So this lady called Mattie, she's getting fond of Henry, it seems, and she visited him in the previous book, and she's also returning to visit him again in this book. So we start to wonder, is there a romance for Henry? And I think Henry's about 87 years old in this book, so it'd be interesting to see if he does have a romance going on in this story. And I hoped he would have, basically. I'd hoped that Henry would find happiness in a romance. But anyway, we have this character coming, and William, Henry's brother, thinks Henry's not acting fast enough. He thinks that Henry needs the motivation. So William invites another brother, Lewis, down, and Lewis and Henry have been known to have contests or battles over women in the past. And it starts again. So Lewis starts to not flirt with Maddie so much when he visits, but pressure her into having dinner with him or lunch with him and going to see art shows and things like that, because Maddie's an artist. And that gets Henry offside and starts a conflict between Henry and Lewis in the book. So all these things are going on for our regular characters, other than Kinsey in the story, kind of in the background, but they're discussed enough to make them interesting in the story. They grab your attention because these characters are very interesting. So with all that going on, it just adds a different element to this story. And I like the fact that we get more of our regulars, Henry, Rosie and William, in this book. Back to the main story, the main Kinsey story in the book. So Kinsey's hired to pick up a lady called Reba. She's leaving prison, and her father hires Kinsey to pick her up from the prison, drive her home, and then for the next couple of days kind of be almost her chaperone, go with her places, help her just settle back into everyday life, basically. And so Kinsey takes the job on. It's a different job for her. She's going to get paid for a full day, no matter how many hours she works. She thinks easy money, she wants money, so she thinks, I'll take the job on. How hard could it be? But true to Kinsey's life and the way Sue Grafton writes Kinsey's stories, we know it's not going to be that easy. So Reba seems a bit over-spontaneous, and it seems a bit self-destructive as well to go along with it. So not a great mix. So she's not meant to be drinking at all, and it doesn't take long, I think it's a few days in the book, until Reba starts drinking again. And Kinsey's starting to worry about that. She thinks, what else will it lead to? Because Reba's been known to do stronger stuff as well. What Kinsey also learns is that Reba's ex-boss, so Reba was in prison for embezzlement. Reba's ex-boss is being investigated for money laundering. So this is where the mystery element comes in, which is not so much a mystery because we already told so early on in the book that this guy is being investigated for money laundering. So basically, we assume straight away he's guilty. So it's a different type of story because in other books in the series, you don't know who the culprit is until later on in the book, towards the end. We already know who it is, and we just need to see it all play out. We just need to see the investigation play out to see if they can catch this guy, get the evidence to catch him. So the mystery element is not so much is the guy guilty or not, but can they find the evidence to prove he's guilty? That's the mystery in this book. So I should also mention that this guy's name is Beckwith. That's his surname. And the reason Kinsey learns this about Beckwith is that Shaney Phillips, who's a lieutenant in the police force, turns up and starts to give Kinsey these details. He's got two motivations for this. One, he wants Kinsey's help to convince Reba to spy for them and get to find out where the evidence is stored, where they can find it. That's the first thing he wants. The second thing he wants from Kinsey is a bit more personal. Shaney wants to take Kinsey out to dinner, things like that, wants to start dating her, and etc, etc. So I won't go into all the details in this video, but you get what I mean. So this is the start of a romance again for Kinsey in the series, and I hope this one's going to stick. When we first met Shaney in a different book in the series, I was hoping it'd be a love interest for Kinsey in the series. It didn't turn out that way, but I'm glad that we have that in this book, and I'm hoping it sticks, because our Kinsey needs to find a romance that sticks, I think. She had some bad luck in the past. I hope we get Kinsey settled down with somebody in the series. It'd be good to see. So there's not much more else to this book to talk about. We've got Kinsey and Shaney with that romance angle and the investigation angle. We've got all the stuff going on with Rosie, William, Henry, and also the other brother Lewis. And then we have Reba. And Reba kind of hopelessly being in love with her ex-boss. And her ex-boss is still married, and then we find out that her ex-boss is also having a fling with somebody else. So it's all these kind of romance or romance-like angles going on in this story. And in some ways, they do take over from the mystery element. And again, it's not a true mystery as we've had mysteries in this series, unless you call The Hunt for Evidence a mystery, when you already know who the culprit is. So in that way, the mystery side wasn't that exciting for me in this story. And in the money laundering investigation, some of the detail of that bogs the pace of the book down too much. So I think that's a bit of a shame as well. But the thing about this book that makes it so good and enjoyable are the characters. So it's the characters that really lift this story up. And if those characters weren't so good, I think this book would be one of the worst books in the series. Reba, I have to mention Reba. She's like a standout in this book. She's so spontaneous. You don't know what she's going to do. And that makes her a very engaging character, because her character can go off on any angle, any moment in the story. I liked her progression in the book, and it was very interesting because she starts off in one spot. Then you feel like she's changing, developing into something else. Then she just cycles back to the same spot she started on. And she has other things going on along the way, but she just feels like a character, like a person that's knows where she's happiest. She knows how she fits into things, and they're not always the ways that other people think they would fit into things. But she's so self-aware as a character as well. She knows her flaws, knows her faults, and she embraces them. So it's interesting as a character in this story. Other characters in this series, and of course people in real life, if they had all the same flaws and faults that Reba has, I don't know if we'd all go around embracing them to the same extent that Reba does. But it works for her as a character. She seems happy and content, but she's a very engaging character, and she does burst from the page. Shaney, now I've mentioned him before in a previous video, but let's visit him again. In this book, he's developed more. He was developed okay in previous books, but we're given a bit more about him. We're diving into his more personal life now, especially because he's starting to have a relationship with Kinsey. So you get a more personal feel about Shaney in this book. And I like him as a character. He comes across as quite charming, quite suave, and he comes across as caring as well, in a way. Not totally caring. I mean, he has motives that are lurking behind what he does with Kinsey, personal and professional, and you see that come out in the story. I wonder how that's going to play out in the series. I hope that Kinsey and Shaney do manage to stick it out as a couple in the series. I won't say if that's going to happen or not, but I do like him as a character. So Mattie is the potential love interest for Henry in this book, and in the previous book in the series as well. I'm a bit saddened that she's not given more space in the book. She's not developed more in the book or used more. It's a bit of a shame. I thought she was well suited to Henry, and I thought she was a good addition to regular cast in this series. And I hoped that she would have hung around more. That's unfortunate. I did enjoy her as a character. I was hoping she'd stick around just because it gave Henry a bit more life in the series. It just makes you wonder what's in store for Henry in future books in the series. But Mattie, an interesting character, a different character to other characters we've had in the series so far. I just hoped she was around more. This book is all about characters. If the characters weren't there and weren't so well developed, so well used and described in this book, it wouldn't have been an enjoyable book. I rate it a 4 out of 5, and that whole rating is for the characters. The mystery in this book, I didn't enjoy that much at all. There are moments I thought it was very dry, a bit dull, bogged down a bit. The pace just fell down to the floor. Some parts in this book with the mystery, it's all about the characters. On my channel, I review many mysteries. If you like mysteries, check out my channel and subscribe. Also, as I go through each book in this series, I'll do a video for each book and have that up on my channel. On the screen now is a playlist. It's a Sue Grafton playlist, and it's all about this series.